Welcome to Around and Around, the OCD Circle. My name is Elizabeth, and I have been living with Obsessive Compulsive Disorder for over 60 years. I am not a therapist or a member of the medical community. I am just an ordinary person like yourself who will be sharing my thoughts and experiences with you, with the hope that you will feel less alone. If you don't have OCD, I hope you will learn some information that will help you understand this disorder better. Some of the topics I will be covering may be triggering for you as a listener. If so, I apologize in advance. Since I don't know what your triggers are, please refer to the episode summary in the show notes before listening to each episode. If at any time you feel like hurting yourself or ending your life, please call the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988 if you are in the United States. It is open 24 hours a day, and you will be connected with the nearest crisis center to receive immediate counseling and local mental health referrals. Now, on to today's episode. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Around and Around the OCD Circle. In today's episode, I'm going to break it into two parts. The first one, I'm going to be talking about the channel and some of the issues that are coming up and just give you some information. And in the second part, I'm going to be doing my last deconstruction of one of my OCD spells. I don't think I'm going to be doing any more because the others that I have for you are, I wouldn't say they're insignificant, but they were so long ago or were just for such a short time, I really cannot remember the details. But today's deconstruction is going to be how I actually found out I had OCD. So it is a very significant obsession for me. But let's first go ahead and talk a little bit about the channel. I started this podcast on Labor Day of 2023. I have now released over 30 episodes. I'm not sure if I thought I would go this far. I thought I would just keep going until I don't have any more interviews to do. And it seems like every time I get to a spot where I don't have anyone lined up, someone contacts me. So that tells me that the podcast is still needed. It's still reaching those of you who want to be motivated and learn from other stories. So as long as I have people to talk to about their stories, I will continue. That being said, I only have one interview left to do, and then I have none. And unless you want to let me listen to me talk by myself every week, I really think that I just want to stop if I don't have any more interviews. So I'm putting a call out there to you guys. If you would love to tell your story, you could be completely anonymous on air. Just contact me at one of my social medias, links below in the show notes, and I will get you scheduled. We'll meet for about 10 minutes prior so I can give you some information about the podcast and what you need to do, and then we will just start from scratch. When I interview you, I don't even like to know much about you because I want it to be very natural. So also, if you know anyone who has OCD or someone who is suspecting they have OCD or someone who is in a relationship with someone with OCD, if you could steer them my way, I would greatly appreciate it. I have learned so much since Labor Day. I've made some new friends. I have interviewed some incredibly brave and fantastic people, both men and women. And if you haven't heard all of my conversations, I invite you to go back and listen to those interviews. I think you will find yourself in some of these people. You will find your situation somehow. All right, I'm going to pull up a photo right now of this person that I had an obsession with probably about a year and a half, I would suspect, about a year and a half. So when I was thinking about what I was going to say about her, I realized that not all of my obsessions, but quite a few of them have to do with people who I look up to. Someone who is successful in their career, or someone who's just a very kind person, someone that I want to be like, someone who I've relied on in the past possibly for something, and that fits this mold right here with this person. So her name is Jan, and I'm looking at a photo of her right now to kind of help me get some of the feelings to come back. This was a very, very disturbing obsession because it was very time consuming for me. And I was just done. I was like, this keeps happening over and over again. I don't know what it is. And I just felt like an idiot with some of these rituals that I was performing to keep her safe. So, how it all started was one of my daughters had some issues in school. And I was a teacher by trade. And I had taught probably over 2,000 children by then. But none of them exhibited the type of issues that my daughter was having. And no matter what I tried to do, no matter who I took her to, nobody was giving me the right answer. Nobody knew how to help her. And I was at an education conference one year, and Jan had a booth for her business, and we started talking, and I was telling her, the struggles that we were having. And she's like, "Oh, I can help you with that." And I was like, "Really?" And she said, "Yeah, I can help you with that. It's no problem. I've seen children with this issue before. I know what to do. You'll just have to put some trust in the process and in me, and we'll get her started right away on the program." And so I did that. So right there, I'm trusting this person, right? And with my daughter. And so my daughter went into this program, and it was like, I don't know, we went in like once a month, and then we did things at home. And Jan actually lived out of town, but she would come into town like once a month to check in with her clients. And so, my daughter would go in and see her and see how we're doing, tweak the program. And I had a business at that time that it involved education. And so she and I struck up a friendship, and she started renting space in my store to do seminars. And I would help her get everything set up. And sometimes I would tell, my story, how she was helping my daughter. Anyway, we became friends. I would consider us friends. We talked uh, during the month, just checking in as friends, not just about my daughter. And so it was great. Everything was going great. And I don't really know the trigger. I really don't know when it happened, but somewhere within about, I don't know, 2 years possibly, I developed this obsession with Jan, and I started doing rituals to keep her safe, to keep her from dying. One of the rituals I did, and I think I may have talked about this in a past episode, is I would write her name 1,500 times. Couldn't be 1,200, couldn't be 1,600, had to be 1,500. And I would write them in a notebook, and I would count the lines, and I believe there were 5 or 6 um, names, her name 5 or 6 times on a line. I had it down pat. I would do that every single day. And Jan had another person working with her. I would rather not say her name, but she and I also developed a friendship because she would come to all the seminars and everything. And I showed some pages of where I'd written Jan's name to her friend, and she's like, "Wow, that's interesting. It's kind of strange, I guess." And then another thing that I did was I would look in the phone book, and I would start with the A's, and every Jan in the phone book I would circle. That's a lot of Jans. And it couldn't be Janice, it couldn't be Janet, it had to be Jan, but there's a lot of them. And when I would finish with that phone book, I would get another phone book, and I would start over again. And I would just lay in my bed at night and circle Jans. The last ritual that I remember, and I think we've talked about this as well, is when I would go to the sink in the bathroom to wash my hands, I would tap on my knuckles, "God bless Jan right now." I would do that on each knuckle for each word. And I would do it on the other hand as well. So, what is significant about this? Well, one night we were sitting in my car talking about something, I don't know, and I had talked to her and her friend earlier in the evening and told them all the kinds of things that I was doing. I was scared, I was worried, I didn't know how to stop it, I didn't know what was happening. And she looked at me from the passenger seat and she said, um, You're very obsessive compulsive about me. And I had never heard of that term in relation to myself. When I heard the word obsessive compulsive, I immediately thought of the movie As Good as It Gets. And I was just like, with Jack Nicholson, I'm like, no, I don't lock all my locks 10 times and I don't do all these things you're talking about. And she says, this is obsessive compulsive disorder. And I'm like, really? So after over 12, 15 years of seeking someone who could give me a name for this issue that I was having, and she wasn't even a therapist. She wasn't even a counselor, and she saw it right away. She probably had been waiting for a little bit to tell me this. She probably thought I was going to be shocked. So she's like, "Yeah, this sounds like obsessive compulsive disorder." And I was like, "Wow." And I was happy. Guys, I was so happy because someone had actually put a name on it. Now, I had not been officially diagnosed, but so I immediately started seeking out a professional who specialized in adult OCD. And I I reached out to several people, but this one in particular was very, very well known in my area. And I made an appointment with her and she gave me what's called the Y box test. And I don't even know what they use now. Maybe someone could message me and let me know what they're using now to determine whether or not you have OCD or OCD tendencies. But she's like, "Oh yeah, you're high functioning OCD," and she did send me to a psychiatrist to have some other testing done, and also because she wanted to put me on some medication at that time. But the very first thing we worked on was this obsession with Jan. And she's the reason I was able to break that ritual at the sink with the knuckles by going in there and just touching 4 knuckles and saying, "God bless Jan right, God bless Jan right," until it felt okay. And then God bless Jan, hitting 3 knuckles, and then 3 knuckles, God bless Jan. And then maybe a week later, God bless, 2 knuckles, God bless, 2 knuckles. And then the last week was just God. Also, she had me washing my hands in different sinks. So if I went to the restroom, I would go wash my hands in a different restroom or in the kitchen. Instead of washing my hands in the kitchen, I would run to a restroom and wash my hands in there. That's how I broke that ritual. I don't remember how I broke the other rituals. I would suspect that instead of writing her name 1,500 times, I took the number down and then gradually took the number down. And I imagine I did the same thing for the phone book. I just don't remember those. So this was probably, while it wasn't my longest obsession, it was my most significant. I am sad to say that Jan and I are no longer friends, but it really didn't have much to do with the obsession so much as we kind of grew apart. I closed my business, so she was not, you know, coming to town as often to do seminars. We had some disagreements about religious beliefs that um, coincided with my life, and I actually became closer to her friend and remained friends with her until she passed away. So It was such a great feeling to put a name on something, and I am so honored to have this podcast to share my story with you and to have others share their stories with you. And I thank you for sticking with me. And I hope all of you have a wonderful week. I am now trying to do midweek motivations, which I'm hoping to upload on Thursday mornings at 5 a.m. to give everyone something positive to think about during the week, whether it be a quote or a Bible verse or something from philosophy. I am reading the Daily Stoic now. There may be some quotes in there. Poetry, songs, whatever I find, something uplifting that I can apply to our situation. Remember, we're all in this together. We all have the same disorder, even though it manifests differently in all of us. So again, I invite you to join my Facebook page. It is still very small, my group, but hopefully it will grow as this podcast grows, and you will meet some incredible people over there. Again, I invite you to subscribe to any of my social media links, contact me at Gmail, and I look forward to hearing from you guys, and I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you soon.